Fight fans, welcome to the PBC Podcast, brought to you by Premier Boxing Champions with your host, Kenneth Bouhairie and Michael Rosenthal.
Welcome, everyone, to the PBC Podcast. I'm Kenneth Bouhairie.
And I'm Michael Rosenthal, editor of USA Today's Boxing Junkie.
Thank you all for joining us. We're looking forward to our conversation with Hector Luis Garcia this episode. Garcia, of course, takes on Gervonta Tank Davis on January 7th. Also, on Toe to Toe this week, Mike and I will list our top 5 140-pounders today. And speaking of 140-pounders, last Saturday, Regis Prograis became a 2-time world champion, stopping Jose Zepeda in the 11th round to capture the vacant WBC 140-pound title. An impressive win for Prograis. Mike, what did you think of the fight?
Well, I thought it wasn't as competitive as I expected it to be. I have a lot of respect for Jose Zepeda, who's a good, tough boxer, and Prograis just dominated him from beginning to end, to a point where Zepeda looked like almost lost in the fight. He didn't make any adjustments, just like he didn't know what to do. Prograis that good. So it was more of a showcase for Prograis than a competitive fight. From that standpoint, it was kind of interesting to watch. Yeah,
and I thought Prograis looked fantastic. Of course, in 2019, he lost that very close split decision to Josh Taylor in a unification bout. How did this Prograis look compared to the one who fought Taylor?
He's pretty much the same fighter who lost to Taylor, although he's probably a better fighter now because of the experience he gained in that fight. I just think we kind of forgot how good he was because he's been off our radar for a while. He's obviously as good as anyone in the division, or nearly as good as anyone in the division. He's a complete fighter, this guy, as he demonstrated on Saturday. As you said, that was a hell of a performance.
Who would you like to see him face next?
I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch with Taylor if Taylor stays at that weight and they both want that fight. I like a Prograis Jose Ramirez fight. I think Ramirez probably deserves another title shot. Prograis Puello in a unification, or Puello in a unification bout is interesting. To me, it would be absolutely fascinating to see Prograis fight Teofimo Lopez. So I think any of these matchups make sense for sooner rather than later. It's a deep division, so he has a lot of good options, which is a fantastic place to be.
Yeah, I like the unification aspect. If he can get Taylor or Puello in the ring, I think that's
natural
probably,
matchup.
Yeah, what he should do next. What would be your dream matchup for Prograis?
Well, how about Prograis versus the winner of Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia? Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
Again, I'll add that I'd be excited to see any of the fights that I mentioned a second ago. Not only is Prograis a really good fighter, he's also really fun to watch. So I'd get excited about any of these matchups.
Yeah, but while I was watching the fight, Tank Davis was the name that came to mind too. I was like, if these two explosive, hard-hitting southpaws square it off, I mean, what a fight that would be. I hope at some point we get to see that. Now, with that, let's bring in our guest this week, 2022 Fighter of the Year candidate who will be taking on the aforementioned boxing superstar Gervonta Tank Davis Saturday, January 7th, live on a SHOWTIME Pay-Per-View from Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., the undefeated WBA 130-pound champion, Hector Luis Garcia. Hector, first things first, how excited are you for this huge opportunity January 7th against Gervonta Tank Davis?
Hola, agradecido por la oportunidad. Estoy tan emocionado por la gran oportunidad que se me ha brindado ante Gervonta Davis.
First of all, I am more than thankful for having this opportunity. And, of course, I am excited because I think it's going to be a great fight against Gervonta Davis.
How did the fight come about? Like, when did they first approach you with it?
Bueno, eso lo trabajó la compañía, PBC. Hicieron que esto sea posible y fue un hecho.
Well, it was really all through PBC. They were the ones that made it happen.
Okay. A lot of people see Gervonta Davis as almost unbeatable, although we know that nobody's unbeatable. Give us your thoughts on him as a boxer, as a fighter.
Bueno, de Gervonta es un boxeador como cualquier otro boxeador. Lo que sí está al nivel donde debe estar, porque es un peleador campeón libra por libra y todos queremos la oportunidad y queremos pelear con ese tipo de peleador.
Like you said, Gervonta is human. He's no different than any other boxer that is out there. But then again, he also has earned his stripes. He's earned the place that he's in right now as a world champion, as a pound-for-pound fighter. He resides where we all want to be. So it's really an honor to be able to fight someone like him and put myself to the test.
Great. So what areas in particular do you think you can take advantage of against Davis?
Bueno, es algo como que, ¿qué te digo? Que determinar eso sería en el ring, porque él tiene sus cualidades. Puede ser, yo lo veo de una forma, puede ser que él cambie en la pelea.
Well, you know, that kind of thing, as far as taking advantage of something that he may or may not do, I feel like that's something that has to be determined inside the ring, because anything that I might think I can do or that he may do beforehand, it may completely flip on its head once the fight starts.
That's a good point. Hector, this is your first fight at 135. Were you planning to move up this soon?
Bueno, no. Sí, para mí las dos categorías son iguales para mí, 130 y 135, el cual ya mi futuro se va a ir, mi futuro en mi carrera profesional va a terminar en 140 libras. O sea, no lo veo muy, no defectuoso, lo veo bien.
I really don't see the difference between 130 and 135. All divisions are the same to me. And to be honest with you, my career, I see my path going towards finishing my career at 140. So wow. 135 is really no strange land for me.
So you plan to stay at 135?
No, pienso quedarme ahí, hacer una o dos peleas más y luego saltar a las 140 libras.
I plan to stay there for one or two more fights, and then I want to jump to 140 pounds.
Disculpa, déjame, me faltó una pregunta. Yo estoy peleando contra Gervonta porque por la oportunidad, y soy un peleador que me gustan los retos, los grandes retos. Esas son las oportunidades que me elevan y tengo que aprovecharlas, y las estoy aprovechando al máximo.
The reason that I fight against Gervonta Davis now is because I love a good challenge. I'm all about trying to strive for new heights, and I'm making myself better, testing my limits. That's precisely what I want to do, and that's what motivates me right now, to be able to go up against the best. I always want to fight the best to be the best.
That's the only way to be great, right?
Sí, claro, es la única forma, porque la oportunidad no la tiene todo el mundo, y cuando le dan el turno a un peleador como yo, hay que aprovecharlo.
Of course, these are the kind of opportunities that not many people get. So if you do get that shot, if you have that privilege, then you have to do your best and you know, give the most in order to take advantage of it with no regrets, whatever the result may be.
Very good. So Hector, I don't have to tell you that 2022 has been an incredible year for you. Have you taken some time to reflect on everything that's happened?
Bueno, sí, me tomaron como el anzuelo al pez. Ha sido un año extraordinario. Todos los años de mi carrera han sido exitosos, y bendecidos, pero este año seguimos con la misma bendición, y ha sido un año extraordinario para mi carrera.
It has absolutely been an extraordinary year for my career, and I would say that I feel like a fish that got caught on the hook, right? I can't let go, because 2022 has been simply spectacular. Maybe, like not really taking full grasp of everything I have accomplished, because it's really been something great. But I do know that 2022 has been absolutely amazing, and 2023 could be even better.
Yes, it could. You had two huge wins. You've had two huge wins this year against Chris Colbert and Roger Gutierrez. Is one or the other more satisfying for you?
Contra Chris Colbert fue más motivación para mí, porque Colbert ya era un boxeador que venía, estaba pronosticado como una futura estrella del boxeo americano a nivel mundial, y verdaderamente, sinceramente, me preparé mental y físicamente más para Chris Colbert que contra Roger Gutierrez.
To be honest with you, I prepare myself in a harder way, both mentally and physically, for Chris Colbert, because I felt like he was already seen as this up and coming star in boxing, that everybody thought he was a favorite. So I wanted to go all out against him, and I was more motivated against him than against Roger, because I wanted to prove what I was. Where the Roger Gutierrez fight was great too, but definitely the Chris Colbert fight goes up there in the best fight category of the year for me.
Did his trash talking motivate you as well?
Sí, eso me motivó más, porque como que lo sentí arrogante y me subestimó, y eso fue lo que también me dio más fuerza y voluntad para ganarle.
Absolutely, it made me stronger, and it strengthened my will to want to defeat him once we got in the ring, because I felt that he was arrogant. So I wanted to knock that arrogance out of him.
Hector, you were an accomplished amateur. You are an undefeated world champion, yet this is another fight where you are the underdog. Do you enjoy that role?
¿Pero por qué? ¿Por qué te encanta?
Sí, me gusta porque no me gusta ser yo, como que yo crecerme, yo pensar que no tengo los pies sobre la tierra, de yo creer que soy mejor que el otro. Siempre me catalogo como inferior a mi oponente.
I like being the underdog. I don't want to be too full of myself, or to think that I'm superior to anybody. Let other people can think what they wanna think. I stay laser focused and ready for my opponent.
Very good. Hector, the Dominican Republic is in what seems to be like a golden era for boxing for your country. Why do you think that's happening right now?
De lo que parece ser la época dorada del boxeo dominicano en este momento.
Bueno, la disciplina y la dedicación es la clave principal para ser grande en el deporte, en el boxeo.
I would say it all comes down to discipline. If you have it and you're able to harness it, then you're going to be successful in boxing.
But yeah, I'm assuming that Dominican fighters in the past have had discipline, but for some reason they're breaking through right now.
Sí, bueno, lo que pasa es que el boxeo es por etapa. Esta nueva generación venimos con más. Sí, no estoy diciendo que el boxeo anterior no tenía la disciplina, pero sí el boxeo actual, esta nueva generación del boxeo dominicano ha cambiado mucho también por el apoyo que nos ha dado la compañía americana, que nos han dado la oportunidad, y como la hemos aprovechado, y así como podemos salir adelante.
Well, it's not the Dominican boxers were undisciplined before. I'm sure that they had the discipline, but what also changed nowadays is that boxing, I feel like it has certain stages, and the Dominican fighters that came before us set the stage for what we're doing now. And besides, we also have the support of the American companies that are providing us with the tools that we need to be successful. That's huge. if you combine all of that, you're seeing the reaps, what we reap, you know, and it's really becoming something that we're proud of.
Excellent, excellent. Can you tell us what kind of impact your trainer, Bob Santos, has had on your career?
Para mí, Bob Santos es un gran entrenador, una gran persona. También él es un gran manejador en el boxeo. Es un hombre incansable, de mucho respeto, incansable, trabaja como demás, siempre está positivo. Y nos brinda todo el apoyo y realmente tenemos lo que realmente necesitamos, que es ese gran apoyo, que nos tenga disciplinado en su casa, la nutrición, el entrenamiento. Él siempre está enfocado en todo. Para mí es una gran persona. Una gran persona muy importante para mi carrera y para los demás dominicanos que están con él actualmente.
Bob Santos is a very important person, not just for me, but for every Dominican boxer out there. He has changed our lives and our careers for the better because he's a tireless worker. He's not only a great trainer, but a great manager as well. Someone that, you know, that keeps us disciplined and stays on top of us, but also allows us to become better people and better fighters each and every day. And you know, he also focuses on what happens outside the ring with nutrition, with being focused, with the mental side of it. That's really important, and that allows us to reach our potential. I can't say enough about him and the things that he has done for us.
Another Dominican fighter, Michel Rivera, takes on Frank Martin December 17th in the same venue where you beat Chris Colbert. Give us your thoughts on that fight.
Sí, para mí, a mí me gusta mucho la pelea porque es una pelea pareja. Es una pelea pareja y Michel Rivera tiene toda la herramienta para ganarle a Martin. Sabe que cada vez que voy para mi entrenamiento, que paso por ahí, siempre le digo, vos, aquí fue que le gané a Colbert. Aquí va a pelear Michel Rivera y también le va a ganar a Martin.
I'm absolutely loving this fight. I do think that it's pretty even, but Michel has all the tools he needs to be able to come out victorious. In fact, when we are in the gym, I go by and I tap him on the shoulder and I tell him, "Hey, dude, you're fighting at the same venue that I was in when I beat Colbert. So now it's time for Michel Rivera to have his hand raised as well." And he laughs and he appreciates it. So, I fully believe that he can do it, but it's going to be a tough fight for both of them. That's for sure.
Now, do you see yourself one day fighting Frank Martin if you are sticking around for a couple more fights at 135? Because it could happen.
Sí, claro que sí. Me gustaría, porque lo he visto pelear y ese estilo me gusta para mí.
Absolutely. I love his style. I love how he matches up with mine.
So do we. On January 7th, the crowd is going to be heavily pro Davis for obvious reasons. Is that something you've encountered before, and you have any thoughts on that?
Bueno, para mí no sería ningún tipo de problema, porque ya vengo de eventos grandes, como en mi carrera aficionada, Juego Olímpico, World Series, Serie Mundial, que es semi-pros, como ya una pelea anticipada con Chris Colbert, estelar. Para mí no me afectaría. Será lo contrario, eso me motiva más.
It won't only not affect me in the slightest, but also it's something that's going to motivate me. I'm more than used to being the away team, for lack of a better word, when it comes to fighting in someone else's turf. I did in the Olympics, I did in the World Series of Boxing, I did as a semi-pro, I did as an amateur. So why would it be different now? I'm gonna be ready for whatever comes my way when I fight against Gervonta.
Hector, final question. Maybe you could answer this very generally, because I don't think you want to give us, specifics. But why does Hector Garcia beat Gervonta Davis?
Bueno, yo diría porque tengo mucha experiencia en el boxeo. He peleado con grandes peleadores, he estado en grandes eventos eh, y la experiencia que he tenido, eso me ha dado la confianza en mí mismo de que, de que yo puedo pelear con los mejores de la división y en donde quiera, no importa el lugar. Yo me preparo física y mentalmente para hacer mi trabajo, para ganar.
The bottom line is that my experience is going to be the key for me to win. I feel like everything that I've done, everyone that I've faced so far has prepared me for this moment. And I know that when it comes down to it, the tools that I have in my arsenal are going to be enough to come out with my hand raised and shock the world against Gervonta Davis. Name the time and place. I'm gonna be able to fight anybody, anytime.
Hector, this has been fantastic. We really appreciate the time that you've given us today. Best of luck in this fight. Best of luck going forward. And you know that we're going to be following you closely.
Muchas gracias a ustedes, Martin, por siempre estar siempre ahí, a la disposición. Estaremos dando lo mejor de mí. El tiempo de que el mundo me siga conociendo, de seguirle demostrando el por qué estoy aquí, porque he tenido la oportunidad. No ha sido de la nada, la carrera ha sido grande y llena de éxito. Muchísimas gracias a ustedes.
No, thank you guys. And, it's time to keep showing the world that I'm here to stay and that there are even bigger and better things to come. So thank you guys for allowing me this platform to showcase what I'm all about.
All right, it's time for Mike and I to go toe to toe. This week, we've got a good one, folks. The top 5 140-pounders today. I mean, in my opinion, the 140-pound division is one of the hottest in the sport currently. Lots of good fighters, lots of potential matchups. So we're going to go in ascending order, of course. Mike, the floor is yours.
Okay, real quick, I just wanted to preface it by apologizing to Teofimo Lopez, who did not make my list. I'm not completely over his loss to George Kambosos, and then, he moved up to 140. So I want to see what he can do, but he could turn out to be as good as anybody. I just want to see it. So he didn't quite make my list.
Right.
Let's say he's number 6. Number 5 for me is Jose Ramirez, the aforementioned Jose Ramirez. I think some people have almost given up on Ramirez for some reason, but I haven't. He has that Olympic background. His only loss was a close fight against Josh Taylor in May of last year. He followed that with what I thought was a convincing decision over a good opponent, guy that I like, Jose Pedraza. Ramirez isn't super dynamic. He isn't super quick or super powerful. He's just like a highly skilled grinder, if you will. He knows what he's doing in the ring, and he works really, really hard in the ring, which has been a good formula for him. He's been successful. I don't know whether he'll be in the, if he'll be in the, if he'll beat any of the guys in the top 4 on my list, but I'd give him a decent chance against pretty much anyone.
Yeah, he did not make the cut. He's probably number 6 on my list. I don't know. I'm not entirely convinced that he is on the upside of his career. I mean, he's had a lot of fights. It was a good win against Pedraza. I wasn't entirely blown away. I thought also his
I wasn't blown away either.
The very close fight with Victor Postal stands out to me. I think he's gotten a lot of mileage from the Maurice Hooker fight, but still a very, very good fighter and certainly one of the best 140 pounders today. My number 5 is an up and comer, Subriel Matias. Matias, of course, we're going to find out what he's made of. He's supposed to be fighting for an IBF world title in his next fight, but I just love his hunger, his tenacity, his skill, his relaxed manner in the ring, which reminds me of James Toney. No, I'm not saying he's James Toney, but for someone who throws a lot of punches, he does it in such a relaxed way. And the one fighter that comes to mind is James Toney. Still some questions about his chin, but no denying his killer instinct, his power, and all of his other skills.
Yeah, I like Matias for the reasons that you stated. Yeah, I understand what you're saying about James Toney, but he's a lot more aggressive than Toney was, I think. You might tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think he's one of the most fun guys in the sport to watch.
Yes,
which to me is always a really important thing. But I also think he's really good. I like what you said about the intelligent way that he attacks. He isn't just a guy that wings punches. He does it in an intelligent way, but man, does he do it. He's so aggressive and just so intense. But the reason, they'll follow that by saying the reason he's not on my list is I just need to see a little bit more.
I hear you, and I have no problems with that whatsoever. Let's go to number 4. I'll kick this one off. My number 4 is Gary Antoine Russell. When I was going through this division, I gotta say, I mean, Gary Antoine Russell had, he's had quite the year. But beyond that, you look at his last 3 opponents. Of course, he destroyed Giovanni Santiago in 6 rounds. Santiago, of course, a lot of people feel beat Adrian Broner back in 2020, and then he stops Victor Postal in 10 rounds. Dominated Postal throughout that fight, actually, and we saw Postal fight tooth and nail with Jose Ramirez. And then, of course, he stops Francis, Barthélemy in his last fight. He's got a better resume than I think most people realize. Obviously, there's still a level above, but I feel he deserves a spot on my rankings.
Yeah, I'll make a confession. I didn't somehow manage to sleep on Gary Antoine Russell. I don't know how I managed to do that, but I did. I think he would have been probably made my list at 5 or maybe 4, but I didn't think of him for some reason. I don't know.
Who you got?
Apologies to Gary Antoine Russell. I really like him for the reasons that you stated. Talk about intelligent aggression. Really intelligent aggression. I think he's a really clever boxer. I love his style because it's entertaining, and I think he has power. But I guess you could argue that he shouldn't quite make the list because he's another guy I think needs to just prove a little bit more. So I won't feel too bad about that. But I love this guy, and again, mostly because he's just really fun to watch.
Yeah. Who you got for number 4?
So I have Alberto Puello for number 4. I hesitated to include him because his last fight with Batir Akhmadov was so close. Arguably one that Akhmadov should have won. I think it was close to a draw. I just saw so much ability and even more resilience from Puello in that fight. I saw he's really skillful. It was just so obvious to me. And to withstand what Akhmadov was throwing at that guy was just crazy. I just kept kind of expecting him to crumble, and he just never did, which shows me how tough he is. He's a super boxer, a super athlete, and he's tough as hell. He just wouldn't have survived that fight if he weren't. He doesn't have a ton of punching power, but I think he has enough to keep opponents honest, which is all he needs. He's another guy. I need to see Puello in more big fights before I know for sure he's among the very best in this division, but he's certainly off to a great start.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why he's my number 3. I think he's got a plethora of skills. I think he's a problem for anybody in the division. He can box. He's not afraid to get in there and bang. He's got experience, great amateur background. I think Puello is a serious problem at 140. But like you, even though I have him at number 3. I want to see him mix it up with some of the other guys, and I think we're going to see that in 2023.
Yeah, I hope we do. So my number 3. So I kind of took a flyer on this one just to have some fun. My number 3 is Ryan Garcia. I know Garcia has fought only twice at junior welterweight, but I think he's made a strong impression with dominating victories over Emmanuel Tego and especially Javier Fortuna, who he stopped in 6 rounds this past July. As I've said before, I'm not 100% sold on Garcia because he needs more big fights, but he's a guy who appears to have it all. He's got ability, he's got punching power, he's got like a less tangible star power, which is an interesting thing. I know he's moving down to a catchweight of 136 to fight Tank Davis next year, but he agreed to do that only for that fight, I think. So he's a true 140-pounder now. And honestly, I don't think I'd pick anyone other than Davis to beat him at this weight.
Yeah, I still have questions about his punch resistance, but I think that I see a lot of people talking about that. I think to some extent it's overblown, because he got dropped by Luke Campbell, but he got up and put a beating on him. And that Javier Fortuna knockout was just scary. Yeah, that left hand is, insanely fast. He's a problem. He's another one that, he's got all the skills in the book as far as I'm concerned. Maybe his right hand isn't as good as his left, but his right hand's pretty good. His left is, I think, one of the best weapons in boxing. He's fast. He's got the physical dimensions. He's got a great amateur background, so he knows how to box. He fought a lot of these guys in the amateur. So Ryan Garcia, I think, is probably underappreciated. And as he continues to fight the top guys between 135 and 140, he's going to come away with some very impressive wins, in my opinion. Let's go to number 2. Who do you got?
So number 2 for me is I kind of wrestled with 2 and 1. I actually went back and forth, but 2 ended up being Regis Prograis. Again, Prograis reminded us last week what he's capable of, dominating and then stopping a damn good fighter, I think, in Jose Zepeda. That was just a really strong performance, in my opinion. I don't know whether he has the natural gifts or the punching power of Ryan Garcia or Tank Davis, but he's a damn good boxer, a good athlete. He's got good power. He just had his first big win in quite a while, which sort of recharged his career. Now I know more big opportunities are on the horizon. Maybe he fights Taylor again. If Taylor stays at 140, maybe Puello, the guys that we mentioned, Teofimo Lopez, Jose Ramirez. So I can see him winning all of those fights. So I'm really curious to see how things play out for Regis Prograis.
Yeah, and Prograis is my number 1. I'll just come out and say it because I think number 1 and number 2 are obvious at this point. I think I've got Josh Taylor at number 2. A year or 2 ago, I might have felt differently about that, but I just wonder if maybe he's stuck around at 140 perhaps too long and is struggling to make the weight, or if he's wearing down a little bit. The Jack Catterall performance was disturbing. Of course, there'll be a rematch, and Taylor will have an opportunity to distance himself from Catterall. But until then, he's 1B on my list, and I think that the level he's fighting at, and given the performance that Taylor put out against Jack Catterall, the Prograis I saw probably beats him. Now, that Catterall fight might have been a fluke. Perhaps we're underrating Catterall a little bit, but he does have a track record that we can look at, and I thought that Taylor's performance was alarming. So we'll see, again, what he does in the rematch. But if we see more of the same, I think I like Prograis. He's a good bet at number 1.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's why I wrestled with it. But I guess I played it really conservative, and I for now, I'm going with Josh Taylor at number 1 until somebody knocks him off or he moves up in weight. I remember being really impressed with his skill set and his physical style, strong guy, as he was coming up. And when he got the big fights, he won them. First Prograis and then Jose Ramirez to become undisputed champion. Now, I know he didn't look great against Jack Catterall. Did get the job done. I actually had him winning a really close fight. Could have gone the other way. I know it was disputed, but I think even the top guys can have off nights. I think he'll beat Catterall. I'm just sort of predicting here that he'll beat Catterall handily if they have a rematch. And I wouldn't be surprised if he continued to knock off other top guys as long as he stays in this weight. I still think he's a really, really good all-around fighter, but I think everything you said makes sense. I don't know how much longer he's already talked about moving up, so I don't know how much longer he could stay at this weight, but he's really good. Nobody's beaten him, so I'm sort of giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, although some would argue that Catterall beat him. But look, hopefully they fight again, and Taylor gets to clear that up. But I have no qualms with him being number 1. It's a shame that he's had to drop as many belts as he had, but that's neither here nor there. Again, hopefully we get that rematch, and hopefully Prograis gets his as well, and sort of settles the score, because lest we forget, that was a very, very close fight as well. A lot of people thought Prograis won. I wasn't one of those people. I thought Taylor won that fight, and like you, I'm very impressed by Taylor's skill set and his strength. I'm not convinced that he'll be as successful at 147, where his strength may be compromised a little bit by the weight game and fighting bigger, stronger guys. But at 140, he's just perfect and a serious problem. But hey, mix and match any of these guys, and I'm a happy boxing fan.
Isn't it a great division? There's so many good. Everybody talks about lightweight for obvious reasons, but man, oh man, 140 is just so deep and so fun.
Yeah, and look, you probably add on Tank Davis. And,
we didn't even talk about Davis. He could have been included because he has fought at 140.
Exactly, and he's got a solid win there, and I'm sure he'll be up there in a year or two. And the hits just keep on coming. It's a great division, a great win for Regis Prograis this past weekend, and another great episode in my opinion. We want to thank Hector Luis Garcia for joining us, and of course, we want to thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to check us out next week for more boxing talk, more interviews, right here on the PBC Podcast.